his name was Robert Earl Parker, and he always wanted to go in the Navy. And my mother didn't want him to go. She wanted him to finish school. Well, he promised if she would sign for him that he would go back to school when he came back. So she went to the school and talked to the principal, whose name was Lester Cox, and he was the principal here in Newark. And he told my mother, he said, I think we ought to let the boy go. He said, because he's determined he's going to get in some way, even if he has to run away. So she signed. And he had been in Troop 7 of the Boy Scouts. And in that troop, you had to learn the flag corps and the Morse code. And he knew both. He had awards for it. So when he went in the service, it was in October, I think the 25th or 27th of 41, and then war was declared the December 1st, and he hadn't been through boot camp yet. But since he knew Morse code and flag signal, they put him right on board ship in the Pacific. And I think he was on a transport ship called the Hunter Liggett. But the night he was missing or captured, he was on an anti-sub boat. And if you had seen the show about President Kennedy and the night he was shot, it was the same night, the same war, the same place. Only Kennedy was on a patrol boat and my brother was on an anti-sub boat with 14 men, and they were searching for subs. And so the government wrote, and I think I have a letter there that my mother received from the government saying they thought he could have been captured by the Japanese. And that was the 19th of August, 1942. So they kept him listed as a possible prisoner until we went into Japan and liberated the troops. And when they did, there was not one of the men and boys that there had been 14 on that anti-sub boat, and none of the 14 was there. So then they assumed that the Japanese must have blown their ship up. And I like to think that that's the way it went, rather than being tortured. Because I know if he was dead, he was tortured if he was a prisoner. So here this past year, I received words from the veteran. There's a monument in the Philippines with his name on it.
Oh, wow.
And I got a picture of it, but I couldn't find it. So I went to the veterans yesterday and asked them if they're the ones that got it for me, asked them if they could get me another picture of that monument in the Philippines. And I know that the last letter my parents received from him was marked Bora Bora. So I went to Bora Bora and slept in a grass shack, and I wondered what the conditions were like when he was there, because it was pretty modernized. There was a lot of French people there, and you could tell the French children from the Polynesians because the French kids wore shoes. And the bread man went down the road on a bicycle with great big long loaves of French bread under his arm, and he would stick it in slots that looked like mailboxes. And I thought, oh, I'd hate to eat that bread after he carried that under his arm all the way down the road.
And you said this
And
is...
I was able to get a stone for my brother in Arlington Cemetery, and it's a memorial stone, and it's very near the tomb of the unknown soldier. So you can have it if you...
Oh, no, I couldn't.
I have more if you need it for your... I don't know whether you need that because the letters are in there that my mother received from the government when he was first missing and thought to be a prisoner. Then the letter is there saying he was not among the prisoners. So I didn't know whether you needed those letters. And we received many medals after the war, and I gave them to my nephew because he mounted them and has them in a frame.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's an awesome story. Thank you so much for...
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you very much
And
for...
he was 18 years old when he was missing.